Another week of Huddle Up here on Northwest Access TV means another week of sports talk with our guests here, our one host and a fill-in host. We have Nick Mumley to my left, Dustin Tanner to my right. NFL season has come to a close, but there's still plenty of football to talk about. So we'll get into that in a little bit. Let's begin our show with some show starters, and I'm going to throw it off to the Buffalo Bills fans that are on my Facebook page. Many friends and family that have Buffalo connections, and Facebook and Twitter was just an explosion of happiness on Sunday following the Bengals late last-minute miracle win.
12.
That's it was crazy. When he caught the ball, I went, "Oh wow, this is really going to cut." And he's still running into the end zone. What's going on here?
That's the first good thing that's happened to the Bills in probably a good 30 years. Maybe their entire history.
I think getting to the playoffs in '99 was okay. I mean,
when you watch that Bengals-Ravens game, you're like, oh, I think the Ravens are going to win this game.
One of the coolest things when the dust finally settled after the Super Bowl, the one thing I really like to do, I shouldn't say like to do, that I took a little bit of joy in, was actually going online to search Falcons fans reacting to Super Bowl, as well as Patriots fans reacting to it, because it was such a crazy turnaround.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And I started actually doing that with a lot of sports after the Patriots won the Super Bowl against the Seahawks, because it was that last second thing that happened. Yeah. So to go online and search Buffalo fans reacting to the Bengals touchdown was just so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of
the Buffalo locker room reaction.
That was insane too. Yes. Yeah. So it was just a lot of fun to see, and I just but I want to shout out to all my Buffalo fans and everyone in New York, because I worked in New York for 4 years. I have a lot of friends that are Buffalo fans, so they're just very excited. I don't think they should be too excited with their matchup coming into the AFC. But we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it coming up. Don't worry.
My prediction.
I guess we'll stick with my show starter. We'll stick in the Rust Belt for my show starter. It's fun times in Cleveland again, boys. 0-16. They are having a parade.
It's the dumbest thing ever.
Well, it is the dumbest thing ever, but also
I think so.
It generates fan support.
And also, actually, proceeds.
You're a player on that team. Do you really want a parade that you went 0-16?
But
who cares about the fan support?
Because
they're going to have a whole new team in 2 years.
Because the fans are rightfully bitter at the way leadership has led that team down the drain. It's like us sitting here with our collective football knowledge could have won a game coaching the Browns this year. Like, you alone, Paul, could have won a game.
No, you haven't seen my Madden skills, man. It's not that good.
Just spam for verts. Spam for verts and slants.
I'm always Hail Mary on fourth down.
Hail Mary, slants, running back screen. Every time works like a chime.
Oh, yeah.
They're planning a parade, and one of the details of the parade that's not being talked in the media, because you see 0-16 parade, the proceeds are going to the food shelf. So
yeah, there are some proceeds going to the food. But I think you dropped the ball here, Dustin, because the Browns are literally circling the wagon here. I mean, it's one of your favorite phrases, that no one circles the wagon like the Buffalo Bills. The 0-16 Browns, their fans, have put together a parade to do just that. They're going to circle the stadium. They're literally going to circle the stadium here.
Is that the parade route?
Yes, it's going to be around the stadium.
That is hilarious.
That's awesome. I love everything of it, because, Browns fans, this is a fan base that has just had, just gotten the snot beaten out of it the last, God knows how long.
Pretty much ever since they've come back.
And they still show up. They still are trying.
If they had said, we're going to have this parade and went in some crazy direction to release the demons of the 0-16 to cleanse our palate of this 2017 season, I would have been fine with it. But no, they're actually celebrating. They're raising money for charity. I get that.
It's ironic celebration.
It's just so bad. This is such a dumb idea. I don't think, and honestly, it's going to be, this is kind of the kicker for me. Do you know what the temperature is going to be?
0.
0.
Just like their wins.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's perfect.
The only thing that would make it better is if it were 0 degrees with a wind chill of -16, because then it would be 0-16.
I just really think that the Browns fans should just hammer ownership on this, because when the Lions went 0-16 in 2007,
if it was more of a protest, yes, it kind of would be. Yes, but it's not.
I feel like that's what it'll end up being, especially if they're going to be around the stadium the whole time.
When the Lions went 0-16, it was because 8 of their 10 best players.
You think ownership is really going to be around the stadium?
No,
in the next couple weeks.
But
I think they need to go to Cancun.
It's like circling
and
a
find
vacant
Jim Haslam and talk about, one, his embezzlement, and two, his fact he can't run a football team. Now he's run 2 football teams to the ground: the Tennessee Volunteers and the Cleveland Browns. Yeah. So fun times in Cleveland again, folks.
Over to Nick.
The Celtics had a great game last night.
Speaking of Cleveland,
I didn't get to watch a whole lot of it, but the highlights that I saw, pretty impressive. Celtics with a big win, and Isaiah Thomas not back yet, but
he played last night, so that defunks.
he did play. Yeah.
Sorry, not last night. 2 nights ago.
2 nights ago.
Played
Okay.
2 nights ago.
I was gonna say, I didn't
JT's.
think he
JT's
played
prediction is
He
wrong.
wouldn't play at all, and he played 19 minutes or something like that a couple nights ago. Yeah, but he didn't play last night.
But yeah, I was just wondering what you guys thought about that. How he played, but then didn't play last night.
Yeah, we can jump into this just out of the show start. Is that clearly this was supposed to be one of those bigger games? You know, like Dustin said, we're after Christmas, so now the games matter.
Yeah.
Let's talk about them. But there were some injury issues last night. Kevin Love rolled his ankle in the second period, so he was pretty much out for most of the second half.
Yeah.
You had Isaiah Thomas that is supposed to be that guy on the court for, he's supposed to put in 30-something minutes a game, and he didn't play last night. So you didn't really you had the LeBron James show. I think Thompson did.
J.R. Smith hitting buckets.
Yeah, and Kyle Korver was on fire last night, like straight in fuego. I think he had 5 or 6 3-pointers, and they were all in the span of like a few minutes too. It was just a lot of fun to watch. Also, didn't know he's number 5 on all-time 3-point.
Oh yeah, Kyle
Korver's good. He's
not very far away from number 4, actually.
No,
Korver's he's a one-tool player, but I mean he's very good at that tool that he has.
The thing about that kind of tool play is when you're a three-point player, you can play for a long time. It's all muscle memory.
Yep.
So I'd like to see
look
where
at
he
Ray
ends
Allen.
up. That's what I mean. I'd like to see where he ends up
Yeah.
as this.
Well, and
his
I think
career.
he's perfect because if you look at the Cavs, their bench has been better than people will give them.
It seemed like they didn't
for.
have a bench last night.
And I think that's because Love was not playing. Love was hurt. Isaiah was out because they want to work him back slowly. But
and Rose is on that team as well.
I think
he was in street clothes.
I just look at the Cavs and I think with a healthy Isaiah Thomas going into the playoffs, they have a really well-built playoff roster. And I think they have guys who can hit those shots.
And I think that's one thing that we've kind of discussed
They have
anyway.
a lot more experience than the Celtics.
Right, and it's something we've discussed anyway on the show, is that you're not really playing for the regular season, you're playing for the playoffs. So as long as your team is healthy enough to get there, then this shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, the Cavs will probably end up as the 2 or the 3, depending on how Milwaukee does, you'd think.
Yeah, and I think the Cavs are still the favorite in the East at this point.
I don't think so at all.
I think so because
the regular season, I don't think they're I don't know.
The thing about the Celtics right now is that they're beating the teams they're supposed to be beating, and they're barely losing to the teams they're not supposed to. So
the Cavs aren't. The Cavs
have some ugly losses.
The Cavs will go out one night and lose to the Kings or the Hawks, and then go beat Indiana or Boston the other night.
But I think the thing that was big of Isaiah Thomas coming back was they were plus 10 or plus 6 when LeBron was on the bench and Isaiah was on the floor. The big thing that was the problem, and I guess where Kyrie and LeBron didn't mesh last year, was when LeBron had to sit, the Cavs were like negative 12 on the floor. Yeah. And I think if Isaiah can come back and make it so LeBron can rest,
and that's one night. That's one night compared to a whole season.
Right.
So you want to see how that progresses throughout the entire. If Isaiah Thomas out there, does that number start to come down?
And I think Isaiah's the perfect player for that because Kyrie. There was a great piece that Jackie McMullen put out yesterday. Amazing piece that I'm kind of changing my tune on Kyrie a little bit more. When you have 2 superstars playing.
Changing it how?
I kind of feel for him now, and I'm kind of,
Why wouldn't you have felt for him?
Well, I mean, now
you're in the shadow of the best player in the world, and you finally have a chance to go do your own thing.
Well, the big revelation from that McMillan article was the fact that they were shopping him, and then a month after he asked for the trade. So he didn't force his way out of Cleveland like the narrative says. He was okay with
According
staying.
to him yesterday, he said he thought LeBron wanted him out.
Yeah, no, it sounded like LeBron.
We haven't heard LeBron's side of it, but we've also heard a lot more things about Isaiah Thomas. There's been a couple little news nuggets that have come out over this last day or so about this whole trade and getting rid of thing, because Isaiah Thomas has now forgiven Danny Ainge for everything he's done to him, and which I call complete BS on, because he was extremely bitter and extremely mad and distraught, having to leave Boston after everything that he had quote unquote done for the city. Yeah. And to say that we talked last night, we're good now, I don't see it. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's business. It is what it is.
Well, that's what I thought Isaiah had to figure out well ahead of time.
I think if the Cavs weren't also kind of trying to force Kyrie out, I don't think they would have traded him.
No.
Because, like, you go back, I saw yesterday, I think, somebody was talking about how when Kobe wanted out of L.A., they told him kind of just work through it, and it worked out just fine. I think the Cavs, if they really wanted to keep Kyrie, I think they would have. I don't think,
especially
they felt
knowing
like
that
they were forced
LeBron might leave after this year. Like, if the Cavs were like, just ride this out for another year, we'll make you the star and we'll move on from, not move on, but, if LeBron leaves. And that's the big thing that I've noticed. And, I guess, I was a certified Kyrie Irving hater when he, I thought he forced his way out. I thought he was an entitled snob. After reading this article and seeing what's come out over the last couple of months, it's like, now I kind of feel for the guy because, you're drafted to be the man, and then, the legend of Cleveland returns, and now you're the number 2 and you're always in his shadow. And even with being okay with his shadow, you still feel like the team doesn't want you. And it's going to be really interesting to see how that dynamic plays out because it's going to be Celtics, Cavs for the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think the Bucks have enough experience yet to get there.
I don't think they have the depth either.
Not the depth, not the experience. And it's going to be really interesting to see over 7 games if a healthy Isaiah, healthy Kyrie, healthy Love. It's going to be really interesting to see how these games go because I think with Isaiah, the Celtics lose 4-3 in a 7-game series. I think without Isaiah, I think the Celtics could beat the Cavs in 6 games.
I think the Celtics have shown a lot over the last few weeks that would prove otherwise to that theory. I think that when all said and done, when you're talking about the Cavs, you're talking about LeBron James.
Yeah.
And the Celtics have some great talent that have shown up, young talent. This team is going to be a very good team for years down the line because of how young they are and how good they are already.
It's
and I feel we haven't even seen the best of them as well.
They don't have Hayward.
We don't know what kind of player Isaiah Thomas is going to be in that Cavs system either. We've never seen Isaiah Thomas at this caliber.
Isaiah Thomas is he's your point guard. He's your guy with the ball the entire time.
Yeah.
That's LeBron James on that team.
Right.
So now you have to take a secondary role there. How will Isaiah Thomas be able to do that? Because he was
this
a player
is something
that
he's never done before.
He's a player
he's always
that gets
been
hot.
the guy.
He gets hot because he gets the ball. If he's not that main guy with the ball, how likely is he to continue to stay hot throughout the playoffs? And I don't see that.
And I think it's one of those things where you look at the Cavs, you have that bench, Dwayne Wade.
And also he has a defensive hole as well, so you can exploit that very well. I mean, if you're switching between the two, Kyrie and Isaiah Thomas, I'm taking Kyrie all day, every day.
Oh, no doubt, yeah.
I'm just take the age away, take their offense away, just on defense alone.
Yeah.
I mean,
on defense,
and that's
what's going to help you win.
That's that Jay Crowder and the Nets pick, and that's why I really don't have a problem with the Celtics giving that up. Even now, I mean, because Kyrie is just that much better of a player.
And I think it's going to be interesting to see
Marcus Smart
what
has
the
really
Cavs
stepped up
try
on
to
defense
do
as well.
at the deadline. Because, I think the big thing, I still think they need a better interior big man. I think they need to reach out. They need to make calls on DeAndre Jordan. They need to make calls on Blake Griffin. They just need to inquire about some of these guys.
What you're saying you're calling for them to sign a superstar.
Well, I mean, I guess I say those big men, but, maybe somebody lower on that tone. But they need a starting big man.
They need someone in the big man because Baines last night pretty much took control of that third quarter where they went up by 20 points. I think he had 5 rebounds in about 2 minutes, something like that.
At the same time, though, if the Cavs are going to get anyone that would be an improvement on their big man now, they're going to have to give up the Nets pick. I think that's...
And that's going to be the question.
And that's the question.
What did someone say on Facebook?
JT says, wrong, in all caps, and Isaiah Thomas is not going to be detrimental to the Cavs. So thanks for...
So how can you say that, JT, if you didn't even think he was going to play this year anyway?
Thanks for not
you
showing up
can't take
today.
a take on a guy you thought wasn't going to play.
JT, you can no longer have Isaiah Thomas takes. There we go. That's it.
You're banned.
We're done from the Isaiah Thomas.
One thing about the whole Irving thing, you said that you felt weird about the fact that he left Cleveland.
Yeah.
But the thing that I have to, and this is what I was looking up real quick while you guys were talking about, is that Kyrie was drafted by Cleveland when LeBron left.
Yeah.
So you could say on the lines of that was his team.
Oh yeah.
For 4 years that was his team, and he went through misery with that team.
Yeah.
And then LeBron comes in and overpowers you and overshadows you. Yes, you go to the finals a few years in a row, but
It's not the same.
It's not the same, right? Yeah. So if for him to say, you know what, I want to go back to being my own person on my own team. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I thought at the time he was kind of a spoiled brat forcing his way out. I've seen more stuff come out. I've changed my take.
If you go into a team with a different objective or a different future planned, and then management takes over and changes that, I think you have every right, if you don't believe in that, because that's not what, it's like recruiting.
No.
We want you to come here, this is our plan, this is our 5-year plan, and then 3 years into it, they completely change it on you because something needs to change. And
LeBron wants to come home.
And I get something has to change, something because it's not working, but if you're that player, you want to kind of see how well that future would have been with you at the lead. So I'm okay with a player doing that. It's a similar thing with James Harrison going to the Patriots or any team he could have gone to. He signed a contract to play. Management decides, you know what? No, we have some other younger players. Okay, then why did you sign me in the first place? Why did you re-sign me? I could have gone anywhere for the entire year.
Yeah.
It would have been different if he came into the league with LeBron there already. Because, I mean...
Then you know what your future is. And then LeBron leaves. It's like, oh, we got to change it up. But we drafted you to be with LeBron, not the other way around. So they drafted him to replace LeBron, and that was not going to happen.
That's my take. Like,
nice take.
I'm not going to argue with the take because I've changed. You go back to the July shows when Kyrie was just traded. I was on the fence, being like, well, he's only being made by LeBron, and Kyrie's going to fail in Boston. Like, I came in with the hot take after the trade, and now I've seen how he's done, and I've
cooled down a little bit.
My take has cooled down.
Along with the temperature here.
My take has actually gone to the opposite of the hot spectrum.
It's a bombogenesis take, is what you're trying to say.
The minute I found out the Cavs, he felt like he wasn't wanted by the Cavs. I was like, fine, ask for your trade. I 100%, because if you go to work and you're told, oh, we're going to give somebody your hours, you're going to look for a new job. And now that I saw that, Eric Bledsoe and Paul George, there was a deal put together, that's when it was like, oh, Kyrie knew he wasn't wanted there, and he wanted to be where he was wanted. And it explains the quotes that have come out since, he's in Boston.
Himself as well has said that I thought LeBron wanted me out. I thought that he didn't want me here. So that's why his whole attitude changes that way. I think that's why he was so quiet during the playoffs last year, because he didn't want to, that was the biggest thing, is that he never talked. He didn't want to talk to the media. He didn't want to talk to the players. He was very isolated in that locker room. So I think for someone like him that wanted to go somewhere else and succeed, there was nothing wrong with that. And it's proven. It's proven itself right now.
No, he's doing right.
He's twice the player he was.
Your number two isn't there for the season, and you're still doing well.
And Kyrie has just gotten better, and he's proven that he's proven people like me.
Now last night, what we were saying, like how we thought about it, I feel like we still haven't seen Cavs versus Celtics yet. We haven't seen healthy versus healthy because you lost Hayward that first game, so everything's out. This game, you had Rose out, you had hurt, you got hurt, you had Thomas that was out, so you still didn't have a Cavs versus Celtics. And this Celtics team off the bench went insane. I think Rozier, Rozier had 20 points off the bench in less than 20 minutes, something like that. So this is like one of those games where you're at home. And the Celtics the Cavs just played the night before. I think that has a lot to do with it.
And Rozier's one of those guys. The Celtics need to just use him while they've got him, because he's going to be a starting point guard somewhere in probably 2 or 3 years. He's just improved so much, and he's kind of flown under the radar because they have so many stars on the team. And he's just really come along. If you sit there and watch a Celtics game and just watch Terry Rozier, you could just see he's a very good player.
There are a lot of young players on the Celtics team that are just fun to watch. Jaylen Brown was almost a highlight reel last night and had an insane. Was it him or Tatum? It may have been Tatum. I can't remember. That had an insane crossover and a missed dunk, unfortunately. But that would have been all over SportsCenter for the next 24 hours.
So I want to switch gears here for just a second and talk about the Western Conference, because
great, my forte.
Yeah, your forte. Do you
is it how Kyrie Irving's finally playing how Steph Curry's finally playing like the old Steph Curry?
No, that's not what I
watched him make a 3-pointer. I don't know if it was last night or the night before.
I'm looking at the team.
That was just. I think it was last night's game where he took one from 7 or 8 feet beyond the 3-point line, and it just drains it. It's like, oh, there's Steph Curry. I remember this guy.
I'm talking about how it looks like the Timberwolves and the Thunder are starting to figure it out. Both are 7-3 in their last 10.
I think we said that about the Thunder, though. I know that we put them together and said, oh, how's this ever going to work?
I said that a couple weeks ago, and I got the you're wrong at the table.
Because you couldn't have said it a couple weeks ago because that was before Christmas, and you said that any games before Christmas don't matter, Dustin.
But now, since like that Christmas Day beating the Rockets, they have some momentum. They destroyed the Lakers last night by like 40 or 50 points.
Really?
In what some people are calling Oklahoma City's pitch to Paul George to stay in Oklahoma City. You know, you want to go to the team that we just beat by 50
and what
points.
What did Westbrook say? Winning a title, it will be the best pitch possible?
Yeah, and they're 7-3 in their last 10, and the Timberwolves are also 7-3 in their last 10. So, both Timberwolves are fourth in the Western Conference right now. Thibodeau is starting to put it together up there, and it's really interesting to see because Minnesota's been that team, like the St. Louis Rams. Every year they'd be like, the Los Angeles Rams. Whoops. They're spooky.
No, you could say the St. Louis Rams.
They're spooky. They have the roster. They're just only one player away. Looks like the Timberwolves are in control right now to maybe get one of those power seeds. And if Timberwolves Thunder is a first-round series, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
And also the West. The West is pretty strong, but not as, hype-wise. You got 5 good teams in the West, and everything else is just kind of like, with, the Trailblazers at 19-18, the Pelicans at 19-18, Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins in a playoff spot right now. Maybe they're figuring it out. But the super dominant West, besides the very top, has still just been it's kind of more of a meh conference this year. Like one of those conferences where like nobody is really dominating except for the top 4 teams.
Yeah.
Just wanted to mention that quickly because we spend so much time on the Celtics.
Let's talk about something else. I don't know much about college football. Real funny, UCF, University of Central Florida, they won their, was it the
Cotton Bowl.
Cotton
Peach
Bowl.
Bowl.
Peach Bowl. You're right, the Peach Bowl.
Yeah, something
and
like that.
they declared themselves the national champions of Division I football at 13-0. Not only have they alluded to the fact they will be purchasing a national championship banner, the coaching staff also received bonuses. I think the head coach didn't because he had already capped at his salary take. And they are planning.
He's in Nebraska now too.
And they are planning a parade at Disney World.
Yep.
So what's your take on a team that goes 13-0, doesn't get a chance to play in the national championship playoff, the college football playoffs, and has declared themselves national champions?
Well, my take is the fact that they beat Auburn, and Auburn was the team that manhandled Georgia the first time around and beat Alabama. So the two teams playing in a national championship game lost to Auburn, and UCF beat Auburn. So I think UCF has a rightful claim to this trophy because the fact of the matter is that I think if you would have put them in the college football playoff, if you would have put them against Clemson with a month to prepare, I think they would have won that game. Clemson is not as good as people thought they were. And I think, it's not really college. I think it needs to be 8 teams for the college football playoff. But I think UCF has a right to claim it because the fact of the matter is who beat them? Like, who beat them?
Exactly.
Nobody beat them.
I mean, they were ranked. I know they were 13-0 throughout their season here, but they were only ranked number 12.
Well,
that's because of their strength of schedule.
Okay, but that's on the coaches and that's on the school. Remember, these guys they do create their own schedules.
It should be also noted that
this isn't the NFL where there's a committee that creates the schedules for the teams.
They had
this
an
is on the teams
ACC
themselves.
game against an ACC team, Georgia Tech, which would have boosted their strength of schedule just a little bit, not much, but a little bit. Canceled due to the hurricane that hit Florida. But the thing that annoys me is that
so what they bump up to 11 instead of 12
you say that
or 10
they're 12,
instead of 12.
But the way the polls are conducted is really coaches vote on the polls, right?
Yeah.
And there's always. This is another topic for another time, and I'll just give
it's not. This is a topic for this time.
I'll give you the minute rundown on it in the sense of college football polls have always been about favoritism, have always been skewed towards blue bloods. Have always been skewed towards those teams that, like Notre Dame every year is ranked. Texas was ranked this year. Texas is trash.
So what does it take for you, Dustin, to put this UCF team against a team like Alabama, get their butts whooped, get embarrassed on national television, just so you can finally say, oh wait, I guess these teams don't have a shot at doing this? Because if you put a team like UCF, and I know they went undefeated, and I know they're a great team, but if you put them up against one of these crazy top 4, top 5 teams, they get spanked.
Auburn was the 7th team. I mean, Auburn was very
after all
much
said
in
and done right now,
consideration.
Auburn, and is considered, but after all said and done with rankings, they're number 7. So I'm talking your top 4 teams right now, top 2 teams that are making everyone else look silly.
I mean, I think they could have beat Clemson.
Yeah.
I think they could have competed against.
But could they? Because look, you just said it. You said their strength of schedule. So it's like the mirage schedule. It's not. They aren't really as good as their schedule says they are because they're not playing anybody.
So here's the thing.
Okay, they wouldn't be a 13-0 team in the SEC.
No, but I think they'd be like 8-4 or 9-3.
Yeah, but I mean, I think
Auburn by a touchdown.
They're like Western Michigan. I think last year. I think your point is fair when they went out, and I don't even remember.
They gave up 55 points
played.
to Memphis. They gave up 42 points to UCF, not a ranked team. They gave up 24 points to UConn. I mean, these are teams that, guys, they wouldn't do this against an Alabama team. They would let up 60 points to an Alabama team.
Guess how many ranked teams Alabama has played?
Yeah. No, and I understand.
Two.
But when the games matter towards the end of the year, they're beating the teams that are really, really good.
Yeah, and UCF was beating the teams in the division that they were supposed to beat. I don't want to look at a 55-52 score and say, well, they can't beat Bama because they let out 52 points.
Yeah, go look at Oklahoma's schedule.
If they played a team with an actual defense, they wouldn't do as well. Right.
Auburn has one of the best defenses in the nation, and they beat them.
In a bowl game, yes. But you have to do it throughout the whole season. These teams like Alabama, you say that they don't play anybody either, but they do play more ranked teams than UCF plays.
Let me see. So when UCF played Memphis, they were ranked. When UCF played USF, they were ranked. They played the same.
Right here, Dustin. I have it right here. They weren't. The only ranked team that they played this year was Memphis.
And then Auburn. Are you counting?
No. South Florida was ranked when they played UCF.
I'm looking at ESPN too, and it doesn't say it is.
I'm looking at the AP ranking. So Memphis was ranked.
You're going off AP, I'm going off ESPN.
Memphis was ranked both times.
What did you say they were number 25?
Memphis was ranked both times when they played them. So they played just as many ranked teams as Alabama.
This says it wasn't.
This is the thing. This is why the polls are BS, in my opinion, because you have these teams, the American Conference, yes, you have a bunch of teams that'd be ranked between 40 and 60 in your polls, but still, just because Alabama's, roll tide, Nick Saban, they get away with playing Mercer on their schedule.
Alabama
and they
played a number 3 team, they played a number
19
team, they played number 16 team, they played number 16, they played number
3
they played the number 1 team.
You can't count Florida State as the number 3 team.
No, because Florida State was trash. No, you cannot.
Florida State can't do it for
polls are awful.
So UCF, when they played Memphis at the beginning of the year, so you can't count that.
No, they played them in
the second game of the season.
December.
Second game of the season.
Okay, the difference there, Florida State's quarterback went down in the second series of the game.
I'm just saying, when you're talking about strength of schedule,
Florida State is not the same team, clearly.
You're ignorant to say that Alabama's schedule isn't harder than Memphis.
It's slightly harder.
Oh, it's not slightly harder, Dustin. Come on, they're playing these teams.
They're playing in the SEC, so you're giving the SEC the bias. Although, if you look at the SEC after the four power teams in the SEC, it's been trash. This is the thing. Everybody who doesn't watch college football or is they're like SEC is bad. SEC is the best. The SEC is the best conference. They played Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt wouldn't even win 5 games in the American.
Yeah, you go to the bottom of the SEC. And those are basically American Conference teams.
It's just as bad as the bottom of the conference that UCF is playing. And my whole point is UCF, if we're going to call this a college football playoff and say it's for Division I college football, then if a team runs the table against their conference, which was the remnants of the Big East Conference and the best of the CUSA Conference, so right on that edge of being able to call themselves a power conference, if they run the table and still go 12-0, they should be given a chance to play for the playoff.
Yeah, it's not like they ran the table in the MAC or the Sun Belt.
No, this is a conference that
it's not a Power 5, but if you're going to call it a Power 6, they would be in there.
Right,
then when do we stop, Nick?
Yeah,
Power 7, Power 8.
Exactly.
You know what? College football's power. Here we go. Everyone gets a chance.
But if all I want to
make it like the NCAA tournament. We're actually going to start the tournament in September, and everyone's going to play for a bracket.
I want to see an 8-team playoff where the 5 Power 5 champions get an automatic berth. So Ohio State, people don't get left out because if you win your conference, you're in. With 3 berths for wildcard teams, with one of those wildcard berths being to the highest ranked, if they are in the top 15, power, one of those
mid-major,
with those teams like Boise State. Boise State could have played for, they beat Oklahoma. TCU is a great example of this. TCU was a Mountain West Conference team that
had 3 losses on the year.
But they moved up to the Big 12 because they played so well against those big teams. Utah now in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
This is the thing. UCF, if we're going to call it a college football playoff, which is what they're going to call it.
I really think you're overreacting only because they're undefeated. If this team was 10-2, you would.
No, yeah, exactly. If they're 10-2, they didn't earn it. That's the thing. That's why the undefeated part is the biggest part there. They went undefeated. You've played football, Paul. You know how hard it is to go undefeated at any level of football. To tell these kids that, because you play in a small conference, you don't get to get in the only playoff. Here's your
I didn't say anything about playing in a small conference. I get what comes with playing small conference. You don't play. Your strength of schedule is limited. But that's my argument. It's not necessarily their conference. I'm just saying the teams they're playing aren't on the same level as the same teams that your Auburns, your Alabamas, your Ohio States are playing. That's what I'm trying to get.
But if you look at what half the schedule of what Alabama gets, and this is what Nick alluded to, was that the bottom
but Alabama is also blowing those teams out that they're supposed to be blowing out.
Yeah,
and then against the teams that they're not supposed to be blowing out, they're actually they're still beating them.
So you believe in style points? So UCF needs to beat every team in that conference by 50? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying they need to play teams that actually matter, teams that are going to matter in the end. The only team they did that for was Auburn in a bowl game, which you know as well as I do. Bowl games are the biggest of the games of the year. So yes, the teams are going to go out there and go crazy, but they're not doing that every single day against teams like in Auburn.
And also, you have to remember that teams in the SEC, Alabama could schedule an American Conference team. They schedule Mercer because SEC, these teams don't schedule.
And when did they schedule the Mercer game?
Probably a couple years ago.
No, when did they play it this year is what I said.
The first
in the
5 weeks?
No, it was actually in the end of October.
The end of October, so you're 2 months into the season. So my argument to that would be, it's like, okay, we're going to play a team like Mercer 2 weeks in. It's almost like giving your team a bit of a bye week going into the most important months of the season, no?
A team like UCF doesn't get a bye week because they have to play the teams in their
What do you mean they don't get a bye week? Did you see some of the scores they put up? Dustin, they're beating teams by 50 points. Every week's a bye week.
All right. At the end of the day, though, you guys can argue about the schedule all day long. But, at the end of the day,
That's very true. I could.
Name me another sport where it would be where you could go undefeated and you have no chance at playing for your championship or even making the playoffs. Name me another sport where that system is in place.
If they make the playoffs undefeated and get crushed by Alabama, okay, they get crushed. They had the chance. They had the chance to play for the championship.
But I think that other sports are structured differently. So you talk about college basketball. You can go undefeated, you can win your conference championship, and then you get an automatic bid to the playoffs. But if that's the way we're going to go, this college playoff bracket is going to be huge.
Yeah,
you can't do that.
Okay, that's different. It's different though because
how is it different? It's almost
in college basketball.
You want exactly the same thing. You want them to have a bracket that can include people like conference championships that belong in the college football playoff. But then if you do that, you're going to have to start the college football playoff in early November.
No, there's not.
No, but
you will because how many teams are going to be in there? Remember, this isn't basketball where you can play a game today and a game tomorrow.
Okay,
you have to play it's once a week.
The difference is though, if they did the five conference champions, and then three automatic wild card bids.
And if that were the case, based on what you have for records right now, on, and I'm going by ESPN, the top 25. I don't think I can even bring up hold on, I'm just saying, if you were to do that for your 8 teams, UCF would still be around 12 or 11 on that list, and you'd be having USC or Penn State fighting for that last spot. So that's what it means. You still don't have.
That's why the mid-major, the 10 to 15, or the team in the top 15 that's undefeated. Back in the day, when Louisville from the Big East.
Any team in the top 15 that's undefeated gets an automatic bid.
If you are from the mid-major conference, if you are the highest division,
other teams ahead of you have beaten better teams to get where they are, and I don't think it's right to take that away from them. Even though they didn't go undefeated, they still put up a great season.
So for your wonderful point about, if we wanted to have every conference champion, we'd be playing in October. There are 9 conferences in Division I.
Yeah, that's the difference.
So there's 9 teams, and then you can have a 10th wild card. So you're not playing at the beginning of October. If you give every single conference a playoff berth, they win their playoff, you're not playing a 3-month playoff.
To have one team representing an entire conference when there's so much talent there, I think would just
win your conference.
Win your
conference.
Make sense.
Win your conference.
It wouldn't make sense because in your conference, Dustin, they're split up into 2. Most of them are split up into 2 divisions.
Yeah, that's why they have a championship game.
Yeah,
but you have other
championship game. Win your conference.
So how
win?
Yeah,
It
would be a good system if it rewarded winning like that.
If you don't win your conference, I don't care. That's the thing this is what gets me mad about Alabama getting in. Alabama did not win their conference. Alabama
didn't even play in their championship game.
That's what I'm getting at, though. But yet, they could very well win the national championship to prove once again, they are the best team in college football. And to say that they shouldn't have been in because they didn't win their conference championship doesn't make sense to me.
Now,
so you're saying,
and honestly, no, I'm the same way about other teams though. I'm only using Alabama because that's the example I have in front of me. But I wanted to see Ohio State in this national championship. I wanted to see what some of these other teams could do. Sorry, I have the AP filing rankings up here. I want to see what Auburn could do. I want to see what Penn State could do. Honestly, there are other teams I wanted to see play in the national championship. Don't make it seem like I'm all Alabama here, but that's the example in front of us right now because that's the fourth team that got in.
And that's why I would push for an eight team playoff where if you have a wild card that is from the non-power conferences that has proven, like a Boise State or like a UCF or like a Fresno State, one of these teams.
You're not saying Boise State from this year, are you?
No, I'm just saying, I'm just using the general example of like, if you have...
That's how Boise State built their program, is making it into those BCS Bowls as the at-large.
And if you have a team like a UCF that has played good, has won their games. Like, I'm not saying let a 10-2...
Honestly, I think that's it. They've just won their games.
Yeah, no, they did. And they should be given a chance to play for the championship. Now, if they get to the championship playoff and just get smoked 45-0 by an Alabama or by, a Clemson or whatever, okay, that's fine. They were given the chance. And if you're going to call it a football playoff...
If you want to be considered a competitive... if you want to be considered for something like this, you have to play some of these teams throughout the regular season. But a little more. Because here's the thing about the Auburn game. You guys keep going back to the Auburn game. They beat Auburn. Yet they beat Auburn on a neutral field. Neutral fields are always...
In one of the New Year's Six Bowls, though.
If you played Auburn in Auburn... I feel like this game would have been completely different, and I think you're wrong to say otherwise because Auburn is a completely different team at home, but so is apparently UCF because they're blowing teams out at home. But on a neutral field, the teams
it cancels out.
Right? They can't. Well, I'm saying,
so
but it cancels out in a way where they both have an advantage here. They both can have an advantage. Not a team like UCF has a bigger advantage over Auburn because they're so used to just dominating at home.
Here's the thing that everybody has skimmed over so far too is that these big conferences will not schedule these little teams because they're afraid of losing of them. I think it's only I think the Big Ten.
So you tell me the only team that UCF could schedule that was ranked at the beginning of the season was Memphis.
Well, Memphis is in their conference, but like the SEC.
They couldn't get anyone else to play these games.
Is notable.
This is a UCF team. What was their record last year?
Well, 2 years ago they were 0-12.
Okay, so they were 0-12 last year. They were a terrible team last year. What do you mean no team wouldn't want to play them?
Teams. No.
What do you mean no team wouldn't want to play them?
So
if this team was terrible 2 years ago, of course someone's going to want to play them.
So the point that...
So to say they don't want to play them because they're afraid to lose to them, I think it's kind of ridiculous.
The point I'm getting is that if you look at
You didn't know this team was going to go undefeated this year.
If you look at the conferences, Paul, there are only 2 or 3 of the Power 5 conferences that actually will schedule the mid-major D1 programs. The SEC is notorious for not scheduling teams like a UCF or teams like they go out of their way to not schedule these teams.
They'll play the FCS teams.
They will play a Division II team before they play a team from the American Conference.
That's why Alabama has Mercer on their schedule and not Navy or
other
somebody
conferences
else
that have been screwed by the Big 12, by the college football playoff. The Big 12, now they're doing it. The Big 10 has done it a little bit, and the Pac-12 does it because the Pac-12 is the Pac-12. Yeah. Only 3 of the major conferences will schedule, if the SEC scheduled American football teams on a rotation, or these football teams that are from these mid-major conferences, and destroyed them every year, that's fine. But what they need to be able to do is that, if you're going to use the argument for strength of schedule, then UCF should be able to go out and be able to schedule an SEC team every year if they want to. Yeah. And that's the thing that...
I'm not saying but I'm not saying they shouldn't be able to do that. I'm saying they should be able to. I'm saying they should do that.
It's like UVM basketball right now. How many home games do they have out of conference? 3? 3 or 4? It's because nobody wants to play them because they know they're very good.
And also, you use your, if UCF was bad. So this is the last 5 years for UCF. 10-4, 12-1, 9-4, 0-12, 6-7, 13-0.
Right, but 0-12, that's what I'm getting at. So they had that off year, and then they didn't even have a great year the following year. Would you say 6 and?
So they went 12-4, they went 12-1, 9-4. Then they had the 0-12 year, and then they went 6-7.
But I'm saying when a team tanks like that, that's usually a chance that these big market teams are going to take a chance and say, hey, let's put them on our schedule. Look how bad they are right now. Let's take advantage of that because they are considered a good team, but they're not playing well right now. That's just going to benefit a team that comes in off a different conference and beats them.
It's just the schedule, the system is stacked against any team that is not from your blue blood power conference. The schedule is actually stacked against, Wisconsin. There was talk that Wisconsin from the Big Ten wasn't going to get into the college football playoff, and they didn't get in, and they went 12-1 too. They played in their conference championship game. Wisconsin was punished for playing in their conference championship game.
Well,
you wanted to
at the end of the day, Wisconsin, I don't think they weren't. They would have been
They weren't punished. They lost to Ohio State, which was
in the championship game.
They would have been. Yeah.
But Alabama doesn't play in the conference championship game. They get in. This is the point. The college football playoff is stacked.
But
against
Wisconsin didn't
You
play
keep saying it to me that way. Like I said, Alabama deserves to be in the college football playoff. I didn't. I told you I would have liked to see an Ohio State team. I was very shocked to see that Alabama got in because they didn't win their conference.
Well, the only reason Alabama got in was so they could have a Part 3 with Clemson. That's really the only reason.
And you say Ohio State doesn't get in, and everybody's like, oh, well, they lost to Iowa like 45-17. And the other loss Ohio State had was they scheduled Oklahoma. They actually scheduled a big game, and they lost a big game. So a team like Ohio State, that's a good football team, gets punished for going out and scheduling good games, which is why the SEC doesn't go out and schedule good games.
Yeah.
All I want to see is if a team goes undefeated in Division I football, give them a chance to play in the playoff. That's all I want to see. That's all I want to see.
And we've had 3 years. What is this? The third or the fourth year of?
Third year of the college
third
football
year of the
playoff.
football playoff. We've seen the 4 teams. It clearly works. It's been awesome every year. But then now it's time to expand. This is the time to grow this thing because you've got those teams like 4 through 10 who are probably good enough to make it in.
I think you're going to have trouble with how to structure an 8-team playoff.
Why?
College playoff. Because of how do you, so you have you're saying you take your top 5.
Yep.
You guys have thrown a couple things at me today. You take the top 5 and you give 3 wild cards, but then you've also come out and said that every single person that wins their conference championship should go on to the college football playoff.
No.
You did say that, so don't tell me you didn't.
No,
which one are you looking at?
That he was trying to say. Like,
I was going against you when I said all teams that win.
They would be playing all fall.
That was when I was going against
Which
you.
would be ridiculous.
Which would be ridiculous.
In a bad
whatever.
way.
Yeah.
But so you take the 8 teams: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
And
7, 8.
how are those?
Right?
Okay, how are those top 5 teams? Because you said top 5 teams and then 3 wild cards. So how are those top 5 teams discussed?
So you get those top 5. You get the 5 teams that win the conference championship. Then you bring the 8 teams in the.
Whoa! But you said there's 9 conferences. So who's getting left out?
We're not counting the little
Why?
conferences.
You just said that they should be counted.
That's where the wild cards come in. If you win your conference championship,
so then you have 5 teams. So then you have 4 other teams fighting for 3 playoffs, fighting for the 3 wild card spots, right?
You have 100 teams fighting for the 3
No, that's not what I'm saying. That you have your top 5. You just said your Power 5 gets the top 5.
Power 5 championships.
Right, get your top 5, top 5 spots. The
They get 5
next
spots
3.
in. I didn't say top 5. I don't want to say top 5.
the next 3 go for
next
teams
3
like
come from wild
Alabama
cards.
or Ohio State. Ohio State
and then
won
if
their
there is
championship, or Wisconsin.
So they come from non-conference champion teams.
Yeah, that's where,
Unless if there is a team.
along with
that's where 6 and 7
other
go.
teams that may have gone undefeated
Yes.
or won their conference
And
championship in the other 4 remaining divisions, right?
Or has had an amazing season where they've gone like 12-1.
I think that opens up a can of worms
No,
because
it doesn't.
you're talking about anywhere from 3. You're talking about any team that wins their conference championship. So that's the other 4. That's the other 4 conferences. You're talking about the other 5 losers of the conference championships for the top 5. So
Okay,
that's 9.
You got to go back to the BCS though. BCS was terrible, but one good thing that they did, they left an at-large bid for the winner of the Big East or the winner of the Conference USA or the MAC. If that team had a really good year, and they would stick them in the Sugar Bowl against the SEC champion
or the Fiesta Bowl
the
back
Fiesta
in the day.
Bowl.
Like,
yeah, and you got to see how good that team was on a national stage. UCF would have been in that spot this year. They were in a New Year's Six
just
bowl.
Adopt the BCS just with an 8-team playoff bracket.
Yes.
With that's literally what you do.
The reason that we went into college football playoff is because the
BCS only let 2 teams in, though.
Because the BCS was because no one liked the BCS.
Nobody liked the
Dustin.
BCS because the
so we adopted a culture. So now you're saying let's revert back to the BCS.
The BCS had the BCS was good. The point system was bad. The fact that only 2 teams had a chance at the national championship that was bad.
The issue people had with the BCS.
You take a modified version of the BCS and put it into the playoff. If you take the
That's
best
why I
of
said
the two of these,
I don't think we're going to be there for a couple of years, guys.
Yeah. No,
but what
You
you
guys
do
make
is-
it seem like next year we're going to have 8 teams in the playoff.
Yes, you could do it. You could easily do it.
I think that's very
the
realistic.
NCAA
Yeah.
I'm just
can
saying-
put 68
but
teams in a
listen-
basketball tournament. They can put 8 teams in a college football playoff.
And yet there's still debate over what team should be in the NCAA basketball tournament.
Yeah,
when
but
it
there's a
comes down
difference
to
between
it.
like the 70th
what I
best
was
team
trying
in
to
the
get at,
nation.
what I was trying to get at, and what I was trying to explain to you is that you have your top 5 teams. Is that a dumpster fire?
Yeah, who posted that? Was that Zach?
It was like Zach. So, but what I was trying to get
Love it.
at is that you have your top. I mean, yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. You said top 5 power rank, your top 5 conferences or whatever it is. The Power 5, is that what it is?
Yep.
You're
Yeah.
winners of that. Okay.
Yep.
But then you also said that the other 3 spots are for whatever conference champions have won. Other conference
No,
champions
no, that's not what we're saying. We're saying you have 5 automatic bids that are locked into conference champions.
that are decided based on who wins the Power 5 conference
Yes.
championship.
Yes.
And then the 6 and 7 are teams like Alabama and Wisconsin, teams that
2 wild card berths from-
teams that are still very good
Right,
but
so that's
didn't win their conference
that's that
championship.
those are the 5 losers of those conference championships. Yes.
In
Yeah.
some cases,
Okay, so
maybe.
the 5 losers.
Yes,
That's
yes, yes.
Look, put that up for
so that's
debate,
5. So
whatever.
that's 5 teams so far.
Yes.
Then we got to put in the teams that went undefeated, that may have won those championships,
Which
like
is
a
going to
UCF.
be literally maybe
There's
one team
one-
a year or 2
yeah.
teams a year at the most.
But I'm still
And
saying
actually-
there's a debate of
and then-
7 teams or 8 teams
and
that
then-
you have to whittle down to 3, Dustin.
That
That's what
would
I'm trying to
be-
get at. That's where the
that's
debate's
why
going
you
to come
put
into.
in-
And that's where the committee comes in as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
you
look-
can't do this. You can't do this like the NBA standings and then make the seeds like that. You've got to with so many teams fighting for that spot and just there's so little spots available. You've got to have the committee step in and judge the teams based on how they've played and how bad they've been beating teams and their strength of schedule, stuff like
And
that.
honestly, out of 5 years, the only time like a UCF the only time like this is going to be an issue is like maybe once or twice in a 5-year cycle where there is a really good team that has
So
shown
we don't
up.
have to worry about this for the next 5 years.
We every year, every couple
Next year
years.
we can have the same playoffs, and no one's going to
well, if we have
complain.
8 teams and if nobody goes undefeated from the
So it only matters if someone goes undefeated. This is what I'm saying. If this team went 11-1, you guys wouldn't be talking about this today. Let's go
because they would have lost.
Let's go to NFL. A little NFL bracket. We only have 4 games to worry about. 8 teams. So there we go. We got 8 teams.
Yeah, we got our 8 teams.
We got our 8 teams in the NFL. It's already decided. Wild card weekend.
NFL committee has spoken.
The NFL committee, the teams have spoken, and the Bengals have brought light to the Buffalo Bills, who will play Jacksonville 1 o'clock on Sunday in Jacksonville. And what it's looking like right now for Sunday is going to be somewhat more Buffalo weather than
Really, in
Jacksonville weather, because I think I've read for the first time in like 4 years they're well below freezing, something like that in Florida. So I think it was like 19 degrees today in Florida.
Yeah.
So but with Buffalo, they had this great win against I'm going to blank right now, against Miami.
Yep.
The Bengals come back and push them into the playoffs, which is awesome as well. So the Buffalo Bills going up against Jacksonville, who won their division. So what do we see going into that first game, Buffalo versus Jacksonville?
I don't know. I mean, I think
Because like I was telling you,
I think
my
Buffalo's
friends were
got a good
very
chance.
excited, super pumped up, and all I could think of was like, this is a lot of excitement for a team that makes the playoffs, but in my opinion is going to go one and done.
they could not have gotten a better matchup right now because
No,
the
really.
the Jaguars are struggling.
Blake
big time.
Bortles.
Blake Bortles has fallen off a cliff.
Blake Bortles is who we thought he was at this point. And
I think the Jags are
There's a lot of bulletin board talk going on. Stuff to throw up on that thing saying he is trash. He's not. If he's there in the fourth quarter, don't worry, it's over. He's already choked. These things have already been putting up on that bulletin for Blake Bortles to see as he goes out
I don't
that
think
tunnel.
even if there is bulletin board material, I don't think Blake Bortles is good enough of a quarterback to be able to do anything about it. And I know that's probably more bulletin board material. And
He's going to see that. He's gonna,
and if
Nick Mumley said this, I'm going out and I'm beating the Buffalo Bills on Sunday.
If he does it, maybe he'll prove us all wrong. But I don't know. I just feel like the Bills have The Bills, whenever the Bills play the Patriots, that's like their playoff game.
The only thing I would
feel
say
like the
about the
Bills
Bills
have
right now
already
is I
played
think
two playoff
they
games.
have the momentum. They have this hype, but I hope that the hype didn't end with their final game of the season, and that's where I think it's going to be.
It's going to depend on whether or not LaShawn McCoy plays.
If McCoy can play, right?
Yeah, if he doesn't play, that's a big hit.
This team was just such, to quote Zach today, a dumpster fire the entire season through management and through the player personnel. I just can't see this team being able to come together and actually win a playoff game.
The Bills tanked their way into the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's to put it like, this team was trying to lose football games.
Yeah, don't forget, Nathan Peterman did play a game this year.
They made the playoffs.
Nathan Peterman.
But I think with the Bills, the big thing is that, I think you talk about the playoffs. What do you think about when you think about playoffs? You think about quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor is a better quarterback than Blake Bortles. I will say it from the rooftops because Taylor is an underrated quarterback. He had the lowest percentage, interception percentage this year of any quarterback. Or if he didn't, it was in top 5. He's a good underrated quarterback. He's between that 10 to 20 range where he's going to be getting a starting job when he leaves Buffalo, wherever he wants to go. And I think that the big thing with the Bills is that they're riding that momentum wave. They're riding, They just, I think playing in the AFC East and I think playing the schedule that the Bills have played this year has made them more ready for the playoffs than a team like the Jaguars. And, I think the Jaguars will be good. I think this will be the best game wildcard weekend, actually. I think we're going to have a 28-24
I don't know.
game.
I'm really looking forward to the Atlanta versus LA game. And I obviously Carolina, New Orleans is going to be really good too. So to say Buffalo, Jacksonville is going to be the best game of the weekend, maybe the best AFC game of the weekend?
I think it's going to be ranked as the lowest game going into the weekend, but I think it's going to be that game where we go, oh,
that was really
this is a lot of fun. All right. But I think I like the Bills. I really do. And I want to ride the wave of the Bills. And this is one of those games where it's I kind of want both teams to win because, both teams are feel-good stories. Jags been in the first playoffs since 2007. As a Patriots fan, you face whoever wins
As a Patriots fan, you want Buffalo to win this game because if you're going to face any team, you want it to be Buffalo.
Again,
right. A team that you've shown.
Now, just imagine the stories if Buffalo wins this game and then goes into Foxborough and beats the Patriots in the playoffs after losing to them.
I don't want to imagine it. I don't even want to go through it. I don't even want to have a tiny nightmare about it.
You know what the percentages of teams playing a team the third time is, right? It's it knocks all the way down. And the Bills have played 2 very close halves against the Patriots.
Yeah, two halves.
The Patriots went into Foxborough and were leading at halftime or tied at halftime just 2 weeks ago. So I'm not gonna knock them out. The Bills remind me of that team,
knock them out.
The Bills are gonna go all the way to the Super Bowl and then miss a game-winning field goal. That's how it has to go.
That's just history of the Buffalo Bills. Okay, so your next game, you have Tennessee versus Kansas City. Tennessee team. I don't know. Is DeMarco Murray healthy enough, ready for the Titans to be able to do this?
So much.
Ready for the playoffs? I don't know. But Kansas City, it's that team all year. We're great. We're not. We don't really know.
Yeah.
Kansas is winning this weekend big.
I don't know if it's big. It could be big, but they could also lose big. The Chiefs are the team that has probably broken your guys' little pick'em game here all season long. But I mean, they're just impossible to pick. You can't predict what they're going to do.
They have the personnel
terrible.
to be a great team, but their defense lacks.
The Chiefs are the Titans.
The Chiefs are the Titans?
No, I was trying to figure out what schedule to look up here. So here's the thing about the Chiefs-Titans game. The Chiefs have won 4 straight games since losing to the Jets.
Right.
The Chiefs are rolling into the play. They beat the Raiders, they beat the Chargers, they beat the Dolphins, they beat the Broncos. 4 straight wins in a row. I think they're rolling.
But to end their season, they beat the Raiders and they beat the Broncos, which I'm not really
No, but
okay,
I think they're a little better off going in. They had that midseason slump. I think Andy Reid and company have figured it out.
I think
for the playoffs.
with the Titans, when I look at the Titans, I go, okay, this is a team that survived. They survived just long enough to get into the playoffs.
This is a team that if
the Titans are really
and they're hurt, and they're beat up as well. Both teams are beat up.
If
everybody's going to beat up.
If the Chargers don't start 0-4, if Deshaun Watson his knee doesn't explode, if if 2 or 3 things happen in the NFL, the Titans don't make the playoffs. The Titans are just kind of that team that was able to limp just enough, and Mariota has looked bad this year. He has more interceptions than touchdowns. Mike Mularkey he's just a bad coach. I just don't think he's a good coach. And I think the Chiefs win this game pretty big. I think they win this game 21-10. And it'll be one of those games where it's only 11 points, but the Chiefs go up 21-3 for 2 quarters, and then in garbage time the Titans get a touchdown. That's what I think this game's going to be.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I can see this being like a game where there's only 1 touchdown scored, 16 to 13.
1 touchdown, 9 field goals.
Yeah.
Between the two teams.
16 to 15, Chiefs win. That's my official prediction.
All field goals.
Sorry, and what was your official pick, by the way, for Buffalo?
Chiefs,
and
Bills.
He's going with the Bills. And Nick, is you as well?
Yep.
No, I'm going with Jacksonville. I think I'm picking Jacksonville just to spite you because of Blake Bortles, at this point. But I think that defense is just that much better to give a team like a player like Tyrod Taylor a lot of trouble.
And I want it to be known, if the Jaguars win
and it
this
really
week,
depends to me on McCoy. If McCoy is good to go,
if McCoy plays,
I would give the edge to McCoy.
And I'm giving
sorry to the Bills because
I'm saying that I think McCoy will play this week. I'm thinking that he will take as many, be able to just come back.
I think that's why he didn't come back. I think he's a player that could have come back in that game.
And I think this is a case
to
where
take him out to possibly play his heart out for this next game is
that's
a bigger moment.
This is the football guy move where
because the Bills were winning weren't they winning by a lot at that point when he was hurt?
15 or something.
Right. So you don't really have to play him. Fate wasn't in your hands anyway. You still needed a lot of help. So for the Bengals to be able to do that and to push you in the playoffs, you were able to take McCoy out, not chance his health.
I think when McCoy was out, the Bengals were winning the game and the Bills were winning big. So when McCoy hurt himself, the Bills were in the playoff spot.
Yeah.
And at that point, the Bills were like, well, we're not going to put him back in. Putting him back in means nothing. So I think the Bills will win this weekend. I want both teams to win. I like both teams. It's happy to see both teams in the playoffs. Jacksonville's awesome to see in the playoffs. But yeah, NFC time?
Yeah, Atlanta at Los Angeles on Saturday, and then you have the Carolina Panthers facing the New Orleans Saints on Sunday. Of both games, I can't pick which one I'm more excited about because the Rams have just been so much fun to watch this year, and the Falcons have been the opposite. That's the team you wanted to watch this year, and they're like the NFC version of the Kansas City Chiefs. You really don't know what you're going to get from week to week, and yet they have the offensive weapons to be great.
I honestly think the Falcons are going to blow a lead again. I think they're going to get out to a 17-0
I don't think they're ever. I'll give you one better, Dustin. I don't think they'll ever have a lead.
No, I think they'll get out to a lead.
I don't think they'll even have one.
And they will blow it.
I think the Saints win this one 34-17, something like that. Might
over
be close.
Carolina.
Over Carolina.
Yeah.
And then
Rams, Falcons.
I was thinking Saints Falcons for whatever reason. But no, I think the Rams would. I think the Rams come close to doubling them up anyway. They're going to be good for a couple weeks. I think the Rams can make it to the NFC Championship game.
The Rams could win the Super Bowl.
I don't think they're gonna. They don't have enough to beat the Vikings. I don't think, or the Eagles.
I don't know. I think
I can't see them beating either of those teams.
I can see them beating the Eagles because they almost beat the Eagles, and the Eagles had Wentz. I
can see anybody beating the Eagles right now because they have Foles, and the last 2 weeks he's proven that I don't think I'm the right guy for the job here.
And I believe are the Rams the 3 or the 4 seed?
The Rams
the 3,
are.
aren't they?
It doesn't say. I don't know.
Okay, I don't know.
I think they would be the 3.
But I think the Rams have the best chance of winning the Super Bowl in the NFC because they get the Falcons, and then I think I think
the Vikings are going to the Super Bowl.
I think quarterbacks because quarterbacks are what you need in the playoffs. Right? It's all about quarterbacks in the playoffs, and I don't trust Case Keenum. He's been good, but
I trust Case Keenum more than a lot of other quarterbacks.
No. I think I trust Jared Goff more than I trust Case Keenum, personally. Now, I think the Vikings defense,
I don't know. Case Keenum's been better this year.
I think if I had the rank...
I mean, we were putting Case Keenum in MVP talk, past midway part of the season, like Thanksgiving time. So to say, and we weren't even discussing someone like Goff. So to say that Case Keenum isn't better than Goff right now.
I think it's time to stop. I think it's time to stop worrying about Case Keenum blowing up. Now, as soon as I say this, he's going to have a terrible game.
He's still got 2 weeks until that happens. So it's okay.
But
this time.
Yeah, I think Case Keenum is At least for this year, I think he's legit, and I think he's going to carry the Vikings to the Super Bowl.
The two-headed monster that's in New Orleans
So-
with Ingram and Kamara. We got a minute left here on Huddle Up. What is your pick for Carolina versus New Orleans? And I wish we had more time to talk about it.
I want to take Cam Newton. I'm just riding my.
You've been taking Cam Newton all year.
I have, and it's been working out for me.
I think the best part about New Orleans right now is that they don't have to rely on Drew Brees, which they haven't had to do all year.
Yeah.
But if he ever had to turn it on, that's a player I would be really scared to face.
I think the Saints should win this game, but I'm going to take Cam because I'm not.
Saints are going to win. Drew Brees is a playoff quarterback.
I've been on my Cam take since the preseason. I've been riding the Cam train. I'm going to keep riding it until it goes off the rails. So I have one question for you guys.
Real quick.
If the Bills and Vikings make the Super Bowl, who misses the field goal to win first?
Oh,
Different teams, different players. You're talking past history.
But I'm talking both teams that are known for choking.
I think they tie in the Super Bowl.
Who
That's my
Tie in the Super Bowl, that's Nick's take. That's going to do it for us on Huddle Up.
Co-champions.
He's Dustin, he's Nick. I'm Paul. We'll be back next week with another edition here on Northwest Access TV.